So Shane's not here tonight. There'll be so much better. That I sent out to everybody. That's what I said. Make sure everybody saw.
I'm gonna have to sit them side by side. Compare them.
Get me 2 hard copies.
If you want, I could do it. That way I can send them next to each other, and go line to line, because they're not the same word. It's hard for me to follow.
Okay, Scott.
The sun's blinding me. I moved out of its way.
You all good?
We're good.
Call to order the regular council meeting for the town of Evansville. May I have roll call, please?
Mayor Chad Edwards.
Here.
Councilmember Candace Michelle. Here. And Councilmember Daisha Edwards.
Here.
Councilmember Bryce
grade school.
Weston.
Apparently, word went out, you called.
Councilmember Phil Durkee.
It's sort of right.
Town Attorney Scott Murray is present.
Obviously.
Town Treasurer Lexi Erickson.
Here.
Chief of Police Mike Johnson.
Here.
Fire Chief Leo Monson.
Here.
Public Works Director Robert Llewellyn.
Here.
Town Clerk Janelle Underwood. Assistants.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'd like to start off this evening and thank everyone here in the audience as well as those at home for joining us tonight on the anniversary of 9/11. I'd appreciate it if everyone would join me in a moment of silence honoring the victims who lost their lives on that tragic day. Thank you. All right, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 1, consent agenda. Approval of the minutes for the regular meeting, August 28th, 2023. Approval of the bills. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, item 2, discussion on the BIF cent tax. I'd like to go ahead and kick this off. Let me start this evening by explaining a little bit about the BIF cent and how it benefits the town and our citizens. The BIF cent provides funding for our street repairs, critical gear and vehicles for our police and fire departments, as well as allows us to do additional projects around town that we would not be possible if we didn't have this additional funding. Overall, the 5 cent constitutes roughly 17% of the town's annual budget. The town and the Trona County residents have always been very supportive of the 5 cent, evident in its consecutive renewal for the last 49 years. That being said, let me see if I can frame the discussion for tonight for everyone. Tonight's discussion is about the 5 cent is not a question of support tonight, but a discussion of how the 5 cent is to be renewed. There's been a desire expressed by some of the municipalities within the Trona County to have the 5 cent extended beyond the renewal vote every 4 years. This would create some reassurance that future funds would be available to allow for better planning of long-term projects. There are 2 ways the state statute allows for such an extension. The first is half of the municipalities within the county would pass an ordinance asking the county commissioners to extend it via resolution. The second is for half of municipalities within the county to pass an ordinance to have the county place this question on the ballot and let the voters decide. At this point in time, 2 municipalities, I believe, have passed an ordinance asking the county to extend the 5 cent by resolution. I believe that's Casper and Edward. The goal of tonight's discussion is to provide staff with the direction that council would like to take regarding the 5 cent. There are 3 options I've outlined as possible directions. Option 1 would be to draft an ordinance like Casper and Edgerton, asking the county commissioners to extend the 5 cent by resolution. Option 2 would be to draft an ordinance requesting the question be placed on the ballot for the voters to decide if the 5 cent should be extended without a renewal vote every 4 years. Option 3 would be to do nothing and continue having the 5 cent renewal vote every 4 years as it currently goes on. With that, I will open up for council discussion.
I'll start.
All right.
I'm a big believer in the 5 cent. I think it's done an awful lot of good. However, that being said, in my opinion, I think that we should just leave it the way that it is. I think as town councils, whether you're from Casper, Ardon, or wherever you happen to be from, or Evansville, I think we've got a responsibility to spend that money responsibly. And as long as we do so, the electorate has always been open to approving it. And for us to go and saddle future generations with a 5 cent that they may not want, or we may not be responsible for using it properly, I just think is against, if I was, it's just against my wishes that I just think it's important that the voters have a right to approve or disapprove this. The last thing is what I'm really afraid of is if this becomes a permanent tax, right behind it will be a 6 cent. And then we're gonna be going through the same thing again. I just think it's our responsibility to stay within our budget.
Any other comments from council?
I do. There has been support on the optional 5 cent tax since 1974 in states. So obviously the voters, they like it. So we can keep it in the voters' hands and keep going that way. Like Phil alluded to, the 6 and 7 cent. I have a question on how far that can be expanded with or without voters' consent. Should it be forwarded as a permanent tax? So perhaps somebody could answer that question on 6 and 7 cent. Thank you.
Well, I can help you a little bit. If the 5 cent were to be made extended permanent via resolution or by the voters, then a 6 cent would be proposed and that would be put on the ballot.
Yeah.
So that would be a specific purpose tax that we could put on the ballot for a specific subject.
Thank you.
I agree as well. I think that it should be in the hands of the voters. I think the moment that we walk a fine line with overstepping and overreaching, where something that has been 49 years, right? Something that has been in place for 49 years, has it been working? Is it working? If it's working and the voters have been doing what they need to do, is there a reason for us to change it? I can see where the gentlemen have concerns about possibly a 6 cent or a 7 cent. That would be a concern as well for me. So I would be fine with keeping it the way it is.
I also think that we as a Wyoming community have been very generous with doing the Vista stuff for whatever we need it for. So I would have to agree with Councilwoman Machado as to leave it the way, like where we have it. Leave it in the voters' hands.
So if I'm hearing everybody correctly, it seems to be unanimous to choose option 3 and do nothing at this point in time. This is always something we can bring back forward and have further discussion on, but at this point in time, no motion needed for that.
I so move.
And I'll second.
All right, on the council updates. Do we have any council updates this evening?
I've got a few. Got some good news. The railroad crossing down on Curtis will be repaired. The repairs on that will start in 2 weeks. So hopefully everybody in town can save some money on tires and front end alignments and that type of thing. We'll get some more details. I just found out about 4 o'clock this afternoon. And I'll get some more details on, what we're looking at for closure time and that type of thing when they're doing that. The second thing is the fence that runs along 2026 through town. YDOT is going to remove it. So that should help with maintenance and looks on our community. The traffic light, the new traffic light they've got down there, they had contacted Rocky Mountain Power like over a year ago to have that all ready to go, and it's still not. So that's why we have no light, is because Rocky Mountain Power hasn't seen fit to get electric service there. So as soon as they get that done, that will be done. Still working on the mailbox situation up on, what's that street? I always forget the name of the street there. Platte River? Platte Park. Still working on that, but I think we're getting real close to a solution there. Now it's just gonna be a question of cost and getting it done as cheap as possible. And I'd like to thank Robert for all his help on that. Also working on getting benches for the dog park. Again, Robert helped me pick up some benches that a gal donated, and I'm in charge of refurbishing those. And Honeydew project's got in the way this weekend, so that didn't get done, but hopefully it'll be done by next week. So that's all I have.
Any other council updates?
The community garden has been going very well. The harvest has been plentiful, and a lot of people have been down there, and it's bigger than it was last year, so we are moving in a good direction.
Anyone else have any updates this evening?
I have one. A citizen expressed some concern about a trip hazard at the Stone King picnic shelter. So I had to address Robert with that, and looking forward to get that repaired.
Any other updates? All right. Item 4, public comments. We have public comments this evening. name?
Pat Sweeney from Casper. We do have, one of our companies does own an industrial property, 5151 Reserve here in Evansville. So we're not very well prepared for tonight, just saw the discussion in Oil City News. And, but obviously, you know, your discussion was very good and appreciated. Couple of answers to questions that arose. So the towns and municipalities, by law and statute, really can't educate. They can educate on the 5th cent, but they can't really do a lot of lobbying or anything like that. So there have been, unbeknownst maybe to some of you, over the years, there's been private groups and individuals that have gotten together that believe in the 5th cent to go out and try to market to the communities and across the county on that value that we all believe in, and I'm part of that group. So over that time period, I don't know how many dollars we've ended up raising to do the lobbying portion, whether it's direct mail, billboards, now with electronics and all of that. But I think in this last round, I think it was pretty close to $100,000 to do some of the surveys, do some of, you know, the market analysis of where we've got yeses and nos. So that was one of the things, you know, selfishly going out and trying to raise the funds to do that, that we thought it made sense extending it and going that way. I would ask, you know, in the future, if this comes up again, would there be support on then going back and putting it on the ballot, say, this fall, which would mean Midwest, Edgerton, and Casper would have to change its manner and just go through the 3 readings again for taking it to a vote. And if that was the wish of this council. The reason I personally preferred the extension was that there was the ability to unwind that. If future councils deemed 10 years from now or whatever, that it was possible to unwind that. My understanding is with the state statute, which recently was passed, and Albany County actually utilized that in 2021 or 22. And they're the only county that has made it permanent by use. And that's from the Department of Revenue that told me that. But there's no way currently in state statute that isn't. Doesn't mean that the state legislature can't change that, but there's currently no way to unwind that currently in state statute. So I would, you know, propose that if that comes up in the future. On the 6th cent, 7 cent, to my knowledge, nobody's even gone there. The 6 cent, however, Sweetwater, the biggest that I'm aware of is Laramie County, which passed this last time, I think 13 of the 14 projects totaling about pretty close to 134 million in that. And those are special purpose. Once the money is raised for those projects, that tax does go away. It's not a permanent tax. It absolutely, by state statute, once the money's collected, it's done. So, and again, on the 7th, that's just not, nobody's ever even looked at it or considered it. So I think the other thing, back to the 5th cent, because of the property tax issue, and in particular what Trona County has gone through over the last 4+ years, and then COVID hits and we see this rapid inflation, and the aftermath of all of that and the increased interest rate. Because of that, I think the property tax issue and the 5th cent and sales tax, in some people's minds, I'm not saying all, but has really gotten mixed up. And obviously, 5th cent has nothing to do with property tax. And in any of that, inflation and all of it certainly has a lot to do. So I really appreciate, Mayor, your explanation and putting it so succinctly. And I thought that was a great explanation of, but I am surprised that you didn't vote to do nothing. So I thought your motion was right on point. So, appreciate the discussion, and if in the future, just let us know. Unfortunately, rallying the troops tonight, Tiffany is in Reno at a truck stop convention. So, and Tasma Powers, I wasn't able to get hold of with McMurray's, that also has property here in Evansville. But so with that, appreciate your time. And
I do have a question, or a couple of them. I guess part of my objection is because I've been in Wyoming since 1979, so I'm almost an old timer. But it was sold as an optional 1% money, and it was never meant to be, to me, it was never meant to be permanent. And by making it permanent, then it's no longer optional. And I think people have a right to mix the two taxes together, the property tax and the sales tax and all of this stuff, because it is all revenue to the state. And it's all revenue that comes out of the taxpayer's pocket. So it just kind of seems like that they are mixed together, and they should be. And as long as we're spending money responsibly, I just don't really see why we need to make it so that the voters can't vote on it. I don't understand.
so, Mr. Mayor, if I could. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, to that point, very valid. I moved here in '79 also, but you're never considered an old
That was the year they left the gates open.
Yeah, yes, unfortunately, for the state, good point. But I wish I could be accepted as an old timer, and you have to be born here, I found, to be accepted. So, but I agree on that people have that notion that it's, you know, an optional fit cent, and that's what it has been called. But this portion of state statute, I forget what year this was put in place, it's not recent, that you can make it permanent, or extend it, is better, but it's basically in perpetuity. So, yeah, so, but it is unwindable this way.
Sure.
And on the portion of, it is coming out of the taxpayer's pocket, both property tax, but the majority of our property tax, and a lot of our sales tax is paid by the mineral industry, and in particular, property tax. What they pay is pretty close to 70% of our property tax, which obviously funds our schools. The risk in the future, to me, is that folks are so upset over property tax that with the fifth cent in the future, I am worried, you know, with the current mindset of cutting taxes, and what will happen to the fifth cent. We've been very blessed.
Well, in our field, remember back in the bust hit back in the 80s, we had the same thoughts that would never pass, and it passed overwhelmingly because we were spending money the way that it should be spent. And I think people understand that. They do not want to give up services, but they need to have that. They need to have that choice.
Okay. No.
Opinion.
No.
It's just my opinion.
No, I greatly
And
appreciate
I
it.
don't want to put words in anybody else's mouth, but it's just my opinion.
No, appreciate that.
I just feel like that's our responsibility to give the citizens of the community and of the county as much say as we can.
Appreciate it.
But thank you, I appreciate all your comments. I can understand, I do understand both sides.
And I appreciate being considered an old timer.
Oh. We probably come from the same generation, pretty close.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Any other public comments this evening? Any other public comments? All right, I have a motion to adjourn.
I move.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Meeting adjourned at 7:26. Thank you.